Hey y'all, welcome back to the boys chat. It's just Darren and Tanner with you today. We're gonna excuse Matt and Colby for the day. Just got caught up in life. It happens. We stay busy. But today we're gonna be talking about just some thought-provoking questions. Some of them a little bit more meaningful. Some of them just trying to get a weird conversation started. So feel free to answer these as you drive to work or whatever it is you're doing while you listen to it. And if you have anything you want to share, make sure you hit us up. We'd love to hear it. Yeah. Anything to add with that before we jump into it, Tanner?
Make sure you're subscribed so you can help us out.
Help us out. Hit that bell. Like it. Get us all the good stuff. It's free. Doesn't hurt you.
Yep.
Cool, cool. Well, as I was going over this list, I saw this funny one, and uh, I just thought it was like a super random question to be asking. But what would you say is the worst thing about a peanut butter and jelly sandwich? It's an American classic.
Ooh. Um, I'd say when the ratio of peanut butter to jelly to bread is off.
I was thinking the same thing. What's your ideal
Yeah.
ratio? Or like, what's the worst ratio? Too much jelly or too much peanut butter?
I'd say too much peanut butter is the worst ratio because it's like you're thinking peanut butter and jelly, so you need the jelly in there. But it's like if you just like scrape the last little bit of jelly and just there's barely any on there to consider it a jelly piece of bread, and then it's
Hmm.
like you just wall up the biggest thing of peanut butter on the other side. So I'd say almost like a slightly more jelly than peanut butter, just because peanut butter it's just like
It's overwhelming.
yeah, it can just ruin it, I guess. And it depends on the bread you have as well. So
Hmm. No, I'm with you. Some people like to debate that too much jelly will make the bread get soggy. I know some people do like peanut butter on both sides, jelly in the middle.
mhm.
I don't really understand that. I don't understand how you spread jelly on peanut butter, especially if you have to double dip and go back into the jelly jar.
Mhm.
It sounds messy.
I'd
But
rather have peanut butter in my jelly jar than jelly in my peanut butter jar though. Because more often than not, the only time I use jelly is when I'm making a PB&J. But like peanut butter, if you smear it on toast, and I know you can smear like jelly on toast or biscuits or English muffins or what have you.
uh-huh.
I don't typically do that. I only do it on a peanut butter and jelly. So,
Okay. So you'd rather have peanut butter in the jelly jar, you're saying?
mhm. Yeah.
Okay. Yeah. I just think that throws off the ratio, so I'm like, ain't about it.
Hmm.
All right, next question is what is like your most irrational fear?
Irrational?
Yeah. So like there's things to be afraid of, like that's realistic,
Mm,
but then ones that are just like there's no shot this ever happens, but it still spooks you when you think about it.
I don't know. I'm trying to think of everything that I have a fear of, and
Mhm.
all the ones I can think of are like pretty common.
Okay, like
Like
what?
heights, for instance. I'm kind of afraid of heights. I'm more afraid of the fall and that feeling
Hmm.
and the sudden splat at the bottom, the name of the heights. But it also kind of like varies on what height I'm from and like the nature of the height, if that makes
Yeah.
sense.
Like if it's like a sketchy like cliff and you're like sloped already going towards the drop off, then that gets more
Hmm.
sketchy than if it's like flat, like you're on the edge of a building and there's like a 3 foot wall in between you and the drop.
Yeah.
And it's like it you kind of deserve it if you fall off that one, you know?
Yeah.
All right.
But other than that, like,
If you're more scared of the fall than heights, would you ever skydive?
see, I go back and forth on that. I'd like to, but at the same time, I'm like, if I never get around to it, it's not like, oh darn,
It's not too high
it's
on your
more
bucket
like
list.
that.
Okay.
Yeah.
See, I'm like terrified of skydiving. Like trying to throw myself out of a plane, that would be so tough for me. But
Mm,
that just makes me want to do it because I'm like, I don't want to not, because I'm interested in doing it, and I don't want to ever not do something just because I'm like scared, you know?
right.
But yeah, I'd say one of my most irrational fears is that like a snake is gonna come slithering through my pipes and like
Oh, okay.
bite my nuts while I'm on the toilet.
Okay. All right.
Like that's a
I,
super rare occurrence in Australia, like nowhere else. I feel like,
right.
but
Right. Okay.
yeah,
Well, now that you mention it.
just because I don't like snakes as is, probably my
Hmm.
like least favorite animal, and then
Hmm.
you just throw yourself into that vulnerable situation.
Hmm.
Yeah.
Dang.
All
Yeah,
right,
now that you mention it, it is a little freaky.
you got no warning on that.
That's true. You don't. All of a sudden, just out of nowhere.
All right,
Yeah,
what is
painful.
something that across the board everybody looks stupid doing? Like no matter who you are, what you're doing, you're gonna look dumb. Or I guess if you're doing this.
Like out in public or like something that's public? Because I feel like certain things you do in the bathroom,
Hmm.
everyone probably looks a little like if you looked at it from like an outside perspective, you're like, they look a little funny doing that.
Hmm.
Certain
Like
grooming things.
some landscaping down south.
Yeah, yeah, yeah,
Yeah.
yeah. I feel like that. It would just, I guess it wouldn't be weird. It'd just be like a, that's how you do it, you know?
Yeah. No,
But,
I'm with you. Kind of like clipping
mhm.
toenails,
Yeah.
especially like the bigger you are,
Hmm.
the more awkward it gets. You know?
Or if you're not flexible,
Yeah.
you
You
can
can
never
barely
get the
reach
right
your toes.
angle on it.
Uh huh.
Hmm. Yeah.
No, exactly.
Now, publicly, oh man, I'd probably say certain sports things, like certain stretches that we would do. I'd say
Yeah.
you just look a little funny doing it,
Uh huh.
but I don't know. That's a man. These are good like conversation starters, but at the same time, it's like my mind always blanks when we do stuff like this. When we
Yeah.
ask questions and stuff, I'm always just like, you know,
I'm just I'm just thinking of like Kevin Hart in the like Never Don't Give Up, like his Netflix special.
it's
He's
Kevin
like,
James, dude.
yeah, that's what I said.
Yeah,
Um, I just remembered Kevin.
yeah.
Other than that, very very different.
Only a little different, yeah.
Yeah. Um. Anyways, it's like, isn't it that the one where he's like top five things you're never gonna see me do naked?
Probably. I
And it
I
was like,
think I think it's that one, yeah.
okay, I think clipping your toenails might be on there. Jump was definitely on that,
Yeah,
and then
yeah. Was it Mo's
sitting in
lawn?
the furniture was mowing the lawn one too.
I think so.
Okay,
Ugh.
yeah, that's where my mind went when I
Okay.
started thinking about that question.
Okay.
Oh, this one's good. We're getting to that time and phase in life where people start having babies our age, which is weird.
Hmm.
What would be the absolute worst name you could give your child? And it is Utah. There is a variety.
Well, I mean, there's the obvious ones. You know, Shathid would be one. Um, the absolute worst, though, I mean, well, legally, you're only legally allowed to name your kid so many things. There are certain things where you're not actually allowed to name your child. I don't know what those are, but I know there's something. I know there's, I don't know, probably like nutsack.
Yeah.
That'd be bad.
Bend over.
Yeah,
Mr. Janus. Hugh Janus.
yeah. McCockiner, comma Berry.
True.
Yeah. I think. Well, you can have a horrible first name, but if you already have like a bad last name, and your parents are
Mm.
like, and then they give you a crappy first name, so kind
Yeah,
of
they're just like, we're gonna make
plays
sure this
together.
gets forward.
Mm,
Have I told you Kara's ideas for baby names?
uh,
We have a daughter. She hates the name Ella, but she really wants to name a daughter Ella. That way, like on the roll, when it reads it backwards, it'll just say Sam and Ella.
that's horrible.
And then she's
It's
like, if we have
horrible.
twin boys, Finn and Gil. She's like, we're obligated to at this point. Finn and Gil salmon.
Yep.
So we'll see. We'll see what ends up
Mm.
happening there.
For marketing reasons.
Yeah.
Yeah.
What bad combinations can you do with Davis? I feel like it's basic enough. There's not too many, right?
It's so basic. I don't think you can do anything bad with the last name of Davis. It's such a common last name, you know.
Yeah.
So
I'm gonna put way too much brain power into that.
yeah, I'm
Trying to come
not. So
up with a bad name for your kid.
mhm. Now I think like flow wise, it might sound a little funny. Um, oh, I just thought of one. It's gone. But anyways, I think flow wise, you might get a little caught up on the Davis last name because like some first names are a little out there.
Hmm.
That it's like it doesn't sound that good, but then it's like other names. It's like oh yeah, that sounds normal. So
Yeah. I feel like anything that ends with VIS can't be partnered with a last name that ends the same way. Like Mavis or something like that.
Navis Davis,
Davis Davis.
yeah,
You're kind of getting clowned, you know?
yeah, true. Well, with the rhyming, you know,
Hmm. Yeah. All right. What's the oddest or funniest way you've ever been injured?
oddest or funniest way I've been injured.
Hmm.
What do we qualify as an injury though?
Uh,
Because, like, for
felt,
example, like a paper cut, would a paper cut be considered an injury, or is that just like
let's go felt pain.
okay? Well, you see, paper cuts. Oof. Worst place for a paper cut? Any one
Or
of
you can
these.
get it like under the fingernail,
Oh, yeah, those are bad. Those are bad.
like a cardboard cut down there.
Um, hey, that actually a pretty odd way. And the way I always phrase this when I tell people makes it sound even worse than it is. I cut my leg on cardboard,
How do you
which
pull
is
that
like,
off?
how do you do that? But then so I was, well, how old was I? 13 or 14, maybe. And during the summers before I was of legal working age, we'd go work for a few days with my dad.
Hmm.
And for those who don't know, he does air conditioning. And we were on top of, I think it was the Kia or the Volkswagen dealership here. We were working on what's called a swamp cooler, which you got your box, right? And there's pads on the inside and a big fan, and the fan blows down, pulls air from the outside. It goes over these pads, which have water dripping down, which cools it down. And then it blows it in, but it's really humid, but it's cold air, and it goes into like their shops. Anyways, we were switching out these pads, or yeah, we were switching them out, and these particular pads were made of cardboard, and the
Uh huh.
water in that area was pretty crappy, wasn't that clean, and so the water after it sits on the cardboard for long enough crystallized, and so the
Okay.
cardboard came out 20 pounds heavier, but it has all this rock crystal on the outside. So I cut myself on the rock crystal, but it's more fun
Okay.
to say I cut myself on cardboard. So I
Makes
can't remember
sense.
what leg it is, but I'm pretty sure I still have a scar somewhere. But it's like, it's itty bitty now. but like I cut it
Yeah.
decent enough to where it started bleeding down my leg. So,
Dang. When I
but
was about the same age, like 12 or 13, my
mm,
buddy got like a new road bike. He was gonna get super into like biking and everything,
mm,
and I was helping him like open it up. It came like shipped in a big old cardboard box. And I
mm.
like grabbed the top of the box and I rip it open, and there was like a massive staple where like one side of it was like 2 or 3 inches long.
Oh, yeah.
It's sliced right down my finger. You can't really see it, but like
Oh,
you can see that line down the middle finger, and it's just like it wasn't terrible. Like it started bleeding pretty bad, and like I actually wore a band-aid, which is impressive for me because I hate
right.
band-aids.
Mm-hmm.
Like when the bleeding doesn't stop, you do what you gotta.
Right.
And then uh and but like it didn't hurt. It was just an inconvenience, you know.
Mm-hmm.
And then it's scarred, and I've got like an inch long scar that just has never faded. I'm like,
Dang.
huh, that's wild.
Yeah. Yeah, the only time I use band-aids is usually on my hands. Like if I
Yeah,
cut like a finger or something, then I'll throw a band-aid on it just because it's like anytime I wash my hands or I'm doing anything like cooking, because
yeah,
more often than not I cut myself while I'm cooking on accident. So then it's like I bandage it so that way it doesn't contaminate anything and nothing gets into it.
yeah.
So, but other than that, like if I cut my arm, it's okay. Hope the bleeding
It'll stop.
stops soon.
Yeah, exactly.
So, but
Yeah, no, my family hockey tape. You throw some
mm,
like we've got some like magical healing food we just call Windex because it's actually
mm,
sweating. We throw some of that on, some toilet paper, and then just wrap it in like athletic tape wherever it
mm,
is. And we're just like, nah, it'll get better.
yeah, yeah. I've used electrical tape before. While like on the job with my
Yeah,
dad, you slice your finger, electrical tape, you good to go.
yeah, and it
I get a
stretches.
lot.
So,
I injured myself a lot while I was working for my dad. There was this other time. This one was more recent. This one I was 18,
uh
so
huh.
this was just a few summers ago, and we were up in this attic, and the homeowner wanted us to add a vent into another room to push more air because it was like the hot side of the house.
Okay.
And we're up in the attic and we had to cut a hole in part of the false roof because like you build your roof and then if they like you add on there's another roof that goes up, so there's like a piece of plywood that's right here that goes with the rest of the roof but
Uh
it's
huh.
not exposed, so we had to cut a little hole in that so we could feed part of this ducting through it. And I'm scooting down into the corner, and as I get closer and closer it goes and it's like,
Yeah, yeah.
and up in an attic you don't have a lot of good places to put your feet. You're on the trusses and stuff.
Uh huh.
So I'm like slowly backing up into this. I'm a bigger guy and I'm getting back there and I'm trying to attach this duct onto a like a T almost where you can pull
Okay.
one side and then two can go off of it.
Okay. Yeah.
So I'm sitting there trying to get this thing like fitted onto it so I can strap it to it, but it wasn't working for the longest time. And I'm like hunched over the whole time. And then I'm like, okay, my back's killing me, my legs are killing me. So I stand up and like hunch myself over more. And so instead of
Uh
like
huh.
a squat, I'm just like bent in half. And when I
Yeah.
do that, my back goes up right into a nail. And I mean like a nail from like the roof to hold the roofing on,
Uh
sticking
huh.
way through the roof. And it
That's
pokes me
exactly what our
right.
shed looks like. The roofing in our shed just nails through the whole top
Yeah.
plywood.
Oh, it's the worst when it hits you in the head, but it hit me in the back, my lower left or whatever, right next to my spine to kind of give you a point of view. And
Uh
it
huh.
poked it and it hurt. And I was like, ah. So I moved and the nail went, "Rrr," and then I like squatted down. I was like, oh no, oh no. And I leave what I was doing and I slowly walk over to my dad who was messing with something else. And I'm like, I hurt. And I'm like, hey, dad, am I bleeding? I lift my shirt up. And the undershirt that I had on at the time, it was a white one because insulation, all this. Anyways, he's like, oh yeah, there's a lot of blood. I was like, how much? He goes, well, you gotta, it's like this. And it was like this much that started to circle this undershirt. I'm like, crap. All right. And I'm sitting there like, he's like, you okay? I'm like, yeah. He's like, how old were you on your tetanus shot? I'm like, I don't know. I think I'm good.
Yeah, that's your job, bud.
Rusty nail. So I'm like, okay, whatever. I'm like chilling for a second and then go back to work. So I know I have a scar that's like this big on my back now from that. So
That's funny.
Yeah.
Dang. Yo, I was when I was getting like adjusted by my dad, he's a chiropractor,
Mm,
and I was like trying to tell him where like I was feeling the pain, and he was saying like people say that to him all the time. He just takes it as a grain of salt. I guess in the back, there's only like there's way less nerve endings on your back than any other part of your body.
really?
So you can be feeling pain like right here, but it's being caused from over here because this is just the closest nerve ending to send
Hmm,
pain sensors, you know?
interesting.
So like you can be like 4 or 5 inches off on where the pain's actually coming from,
Hmm,
but you're like, no, I'm feeling it from right here because that's where the sensor's getting sent from your brain or to your brain.
right.
I
Right.
was like, oh, that's weird.
Hmm, that's way interesting.
Yeah. I was like, oh, that's above my pay grade. I just point and say safely.
Owie, owie.
Yeah.
Yo, speaking of
I've
nerve
never
endings, the majority of your nerve endings are in your feet, though.
really.
Uh huh. And my parents have a neighbor who's a massage therapist,
Hmm.
and she like specializes in that type of massage. So she came over and was helping my mom after my mom had a car accident a few years ago. So she'd come over and like massage like her neck because her neck had a pretty bad whiplash, and then she'd go onto her feet. And she did it on my dad a couple times. And I asked her, I was like, "Hey, like, can you do something to my shoulder? Because my shoulder was killing me." So she gets up there, she's using like a massage gun. She's like digging into me. I'm like, "Oh, this feels great." Shoulders super tense, back. And then she's like, "All right, take your socks off." I'm like, "What?" I
Hold
was
up.
like, I don't want you to touch my feet. Like, you're okay. Don't go down there." And she's like, "No, no, no." Because my dad was like, "No, I want to see him scream." And I'm like, "Dad, that's horrible." Anyways, so I do it. And she's sitting there and she's like massaging for a little bit. It feels good. But then she like hits a certain spot and she's like, "Huh." Explained kind of the whole idea of the nerve endings in the feet. And she's like, she could tell what was wrong with me just
Uh-huh.
from my feet. She's like, "Do you have something going on with like your lungs? Are you getting over like a cold or anything?" I'm like, "I've got asthma." She goes, "Yeah, I can tell because this right here is like this." And da 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 da. I'm like, "Huh?" So she's sitting there digging, and then she gets to like my shoulder, and she goes, "Oh, yep, there's like your shoulder that was hurting right there." And she digs into it, and it hurts, but it hurts in my feet. I'm like, "Oh,
Uh-huh.
this is so awesome, right?" And then the part that my dad wanted to watch me squeal about was the nerve ending for your groin area,
Yeah.
your boys that hang down, right? She's like, "Oh yeah, this is for that." And I'm like, "Oh, please be gentle, please be gentle." And she digs her finger into it, and I about scream. It was hurting so bad. But I didn't give my father the satisfaction of hearing me scream. I held it in
Uh-huh.
as best as I could. Maybe a whimper here or there,
Uh-huh.
but I held it in, and that was just one foot. She went to the next foot, same thing. And I was like, "Oh, you got to be kidding me!" It was
That's
so
brutal.
I did not understand it.
Yo, did I ever tell you um this girl I dated, Shelly, she
Mm,
her mom's a massage therapist. And
okay.
one time she was like, yeah, if you want, like my mom can give you a massage. And I was like, free massage sounds tempting. But
Mm.
then like she brings it up again in front of her mom sometime. Her mom's like, yeah, absolutely. And like, oh, I can't remember if it was her mom or Shelly, but she was like, yeah, and like, um, if you don't feel comfortable with it, like you can definitely keep your underwear on or whatever. And I was like, what? 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 Like
Oh my word!
talking about a nude massage from my girlfriend's mom? Are you kidding me?
Let's go.
Low key wish I had done it just for the story. I never did. I was like, nah,
Nah, that's like,
Like I've always gotten like gnarly knots in my calves and stuff from lacrosse.
mhm,
And so it's like, yeah, like even just like work out by like calves and feet, that'd be
mhm.
awesome. But then it just never happened. And like looking back, I'm like,
Hmm.
did I dodge a bullet or did I miss out on an
And you were
opportunity?
like, what, maybe 18, almost 18, just barely 18.
Yeah, Like
That's
I turned 18 halfway through dating her, so
that's illegal.
definite gray area.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Oh boy. Oh boy. Man,
Anyways, moving on.
that's wild.
This one, I feel like I know your answer to it.
Okay.
What's the weirdest thing that you've ever eaten?
Weirdest?
Yeah.
I mean, straightforward a worm, probably. Probably
Uh
that's
huh.
like the first thing I can think of is a worm.
That's what I thought of for you when I read the
Yeah.
question too.
For $20 though. Let me preface that I did it for money. And $20, that's a lot of money just to eat a worm. Granted, the worm was like this big.
Oh dang,
So,
she was a wiggling baby.
and I had to chew it. I was like, with how large it was, because it was this long, but it was also like a girthier worm.
Oh
You know?
really?
Yeah, it was one of the bigger guys, and I was like, "There's no way I can just down this. Like,
Hmm.
I'm gonna throw up trying to down, like just do it." So I had to chew it, and it wasn't bad until the very end. I was chomping it, and it was just like dirt and earthy and kind of a little
Yeah.
gritty. And then right
Okay.
at the end, when I'm about to just be like, "Hey, a couple more," and it's good. I
Yeah.
bite into its like
Did something
body, I
pop?
guess. Yeah, like I popped its intestines or something, and
Nasty.
just the grossest thing I've ever tasted. Just squirted all over my mouth. Ugh. I almost gagged. There's a video of it somewhere, and I almost gag, and I turn around and I walk over to bushes, and I'm like, I'm getting ready to hurl, and then I'm like, no,
Uh,
you got it, you got it, you got it. Turn around, swallow it, and the 50 kids that were around me were like, oh my gosh, and I'm like, chill out, guys. I walk over, grab my money, go drink some water.
that's good. No, I saw the
Mm.
video at some point. I think I had it once upon a time, but
Oh, 30 minutes later, my mother, who was across the country, was like, so you ate a worm, huh? I'm like, how did
yeah.
you know? I'm pretty sure everyone on that trip within 20, 30 minutes found out about that because I had leaders that weren't even near us later that evening. Oh, I was at worm earlier. I'm like,
Uh-huh.
y'all got like a group chat or something that I'm not in?
With all 200 people in it.
Seriously, dude. 300. We had 300 people on that.
Holy smokes.
Mm,
That's
no
crazy.
more. We had 350
Okay.
because
With
we had
leaders and
300
everything.
youth, and then we had 4 or 5 adult leaders per bus, and we had 6 buses. And then we had a whole nother group of leaders in another car.
Uh-huh. In
So
that
we
like
we had
sprinter
we
van.
had pretty close to probably 350 people on that trip.
Okay. My dad
So
was the one driving that sprinter van, like getting ahead of
yeah,
us. Cook food
yeah,
all the time. He
uh,
like he went and bought himself a captain's hat just to be driving that. Like captain of the ship. He was like, "Yep."
yeah. Oh, I remember we were on the second night, the second night. No, yeah, the second night when we were rolling into camp. We got stuck in a storm because our bus broke down a bunch,
Yeah, I know. I
and
had to unload your bus.
there was a tornado warning. There was all this stuff, and we were like 10 feet behind that van because our windshield wipers didn't work. And so they had their hazards on, and we're going like 20 miles an hour down the highway, and we're just right behind them. Then we pull up to a Home Depot right before they close, and they're like, "Oh, we'll stay open as long as you guys need to, fix your
Uh-huh.
bus and all that stuff." And we didn't want to have to do roll call again because every time we
Yeah,
got off the bus and back on, we'd have to like make sure everyone was with us.
yeah,
And so like everyone stay on the bus. We're just gonna be quick. Like try and get some sleep. Just stay here. And I was like, screw that. I'm getting off.
yeah.
So I walk to the front and I have like water bottles with me. So I start filling like people's water bottles. And then there was like trash on the bus. So I like grab them like, hey, I'm going to go throw this away. They're like, okay, just come right back. I'm like, let's go. So I like walk
Yeah.
into Home Depot and find a trash can, throw it away. And I'm
You
like
can
out,
walk
I'm out
her.
there stretching. I'm the only kid out there.
Uh-huh.
So, but I mean, it helped that half the adult leaders I knew personally. So
Yeah. And we're both 18 at this point, and everybody
yeah,
else was like 14. So we're like,
that's true.
now I'm gonna do what I
Yeah.
want.
Yeah. For real.
Yeah. That was a wild trip, though.
Mm. What
Oh,
about you? What
jumping
was the
back
wildest thing you ate?
had to have been Mexico. Um,
Mm.
there was like two things. One, biggest reaction is always dog tacos.
Ooh,
Yeah, this this person came out with like a platter loaded down with meat. So you just like scoop up. It's like was just like cooked with onions essentially, maybe some
right.
peppers. So you
Mm-hmm.
just like load up your plate, grab a stack of tortillas, and then you're filling it up, chowing down. And if
Mm-hmm.
you don't eat like four times the amount a regular person should be able to handle, they think
Right.
you hate
They
them
keep
and you don't
giving you
like them.
more.
Yeah, exactly. So I'm just like chomped down. I'm halfway through my plate. They're like, "That's dog, by the way," and I was like, haha, in broken Spanish. I'm like, I'm gonna pretend you didn't say that so I can finish.
I bet that was rough.
Yeah, real rough. It's a pretty furry situation.
Oh man,
The other thing would probably be like pig head soup. If you
mm.
think of like a pig's head, how much meat is on there?
It's a
Like
lot.
next to no, like
Oh
next to
really?
zero. It's just fat.
Oh yeah. I
They
guess that
just
makes
like
sense.
just sliced it up. It was like little like the gravy mixes,
Mm-hmm.
like cubes like that size of just fat, just
Ooh.
like floating in a broth. They just scoop a big old bowl of that. That was the hardest one to get down. I That's the only
Oh.
thing I did never get down in Mexico. I got like halfway through and I was like, I'm full, and they're like, "Do you want dessert?" And I was like, "Yeah."
Bring out some tres leches cake or something.
Yeah. Yo, even the cakes there sucked. It was wet.
Really?
You could eat those cakes with a straw.
Well, yeah, tres
Holy.
leches cake. It's a dense milk cake. It's supposed to be like that.
Well, like it didn't matter what kind of cake it was. If it
Oh,
didn't
okay.
leave a puddle on the plate, it wasn't cooked right, apparently. And I was like, "Ah, just
Ooh.
help me, please."
I mean, a cake needs to be moist, but dripping's the next level.
Yeah. One other would always say, he's like, "Yeah, you need a Coke to eat the fork, or you need a fork to eat the Coke and a straw to eat the cake." And I was like, "Yeah,
Gross.
is what it is."
Yep.
I was kind of hoping Colby would be here for this question.
Hmm.
What old person tendencies do you feel like you have?
Oh boy. My
'Cause you
answer's
already know.
close to his, going to bed early. These last few
Yeah.
nights, man, it's like, oh, what day was it? This was a couple days ago. It was like 8:30, and me and Cam look at each other, and we're just both like, are you tired? Like, I'm tired. I'm like, it's only 8:30. So,
Holy.
man, getting into bed at like 9:30,
Uh huh.
it's phenomenal.
It's kind of nice. Then
Hmm.
you like feel good in the morning, actually.
I don't.
Okay, well,
Yeah, yeah.
is what it is.
I'd say probably my back. Oh, my
Yeah.
back. My knees.
Yeah, I think just like getting tired, like when you're trying to pull a female, you can hang and like have the energy to
Hmm.
do whatever you want. Like when you're in that dating phase,
Right.
it's like you get married and it's like,
Or like the whole curfew idea. It's like, oh, you have to be home by this time, but
uh
you
huh,
want to be out later just because it's like, oh, I have to be here by then. So I want to stay out till this time, which is later, just because it's like, I don't know, the rebel in all of us, I guess.
uh huh.
So, but now
No,
it's like, oh, I
exactly.
don't have a curfew. So I want to be home at 9 o'clock.
Yeah.
Yep.
One of the other questions was like, what was it? Like, what was the funniest excuse you ever used to get out or like leave a party early? I just thought of Jim from The Office. He's like, not to brag or anything, but New Year's Eve, I was home by 9:30.
I haven't, I don't go to parties. We never went to
Mhm.
parties in high school either. So I don't have an excuse.
We would just go to Red Robin at 11 in the morning and then go hop in Brevon's pool.
Yeah. And then do other things later at night, a little less legal, but
Hmm.
we're not going to incriminate ourselves. We have
No,
the
is what it
Bill
is.
of Rights.
Well, we're looking at the past. What's one of the most embarrassing phases you ever went through? So, like, probably middle school.
I had that bow tie that I wore.
Mm, I
That was
remember
middle
that.
school. That was middle school. Just to preface that, I wore a red bow tie every day, no matter what.
On a t-shirt.
On a t-shirt, on a whatever. Always wore it. So now I
Yeah.
will say, I believe it was eighth grade. It was eighth or ninth grade. It was eighth grade. It was eighth grade. For picture day, I had a button-up shirt that
Uh-huh.
actually looked pretty decent with the bow tie, and I passed that bow tie around to like five or six other people because they wanted it. So I was like waiting. I'm like, oh, here you go, here you go, here, passing it out to people, and it got passed around. So there's a few people in that yearbook that have it on.
Nice.
So clearly it was hip. I was cool.
I remember for the health class, we were doing like posters of the different like eating disorders and everything. My group
Mhm.
was bulimia, and we just drew like this big old fat dude, and we like got like a package of Skittles and like mashed them up, and then just like put them in a Ziploc bag and like stapled it to his mouth to like look like it was puke coming out. Thought it was
Ew.
pretty. But we were drawing like a big old bow tie on him, and then our teacher was like, "No, you guys can't do a bow tie," and I was like, "Why not?" And then she's like, "Well, like I have this other student, and like he wears a bow tie, and I don't want him to be thinking you're making fun of him." And I was like, "Hey, Tanner," I was like, "Nah, no, we're cool. He's my bud." And she's like, "All right, go for it." And I
Who
was like,
was it?
"Yeah."
Who was it? What teacher?
Oh, Mrs. Hen, super chill health teacher, blonde,
Oh, was she
like
like the coach? Was she a coach?
yeah, and like used to be like a
Oh,
ski bum.
yeah. Oh, I know who that is. Oh my
Yeah,
gosh.
whatever her name was,
Yeah,
it'll
I
come to me
remember her.
later. But
Yeah.
yeah, she was super chill.
I remember doing presentations in her class, and we
Uh-huh.
got graded based on the class. Like the class would grade us, like they'd hold up 1 to 5 fingers. Everyone
Oh,
was pretty much just like the whole time, right? And we
yeah,
had a killer presentation, man. That was when like we were all getting into PowerPoint because we had a class on it. So it was like every single slide had a transition and every single thing on the slide had a transition,
yeah.
right? And the only reason we didn't get full points was because at the very, very end, or almost the end, for whatever reason, we threw in a clip from What Does the Fox Say, the music video. For
Uh-huh.
whatever reason, we had that in there. So it would automatically play when you got to the slide.
Uh-huh.
And then there's like, we listened to it for a second and then she like changed the slide and it was like, oh, the end. That was the only reason we didn't get full points. So,
Love. Worth it though. Worth it. I bet you got an A anyways.
oh yeah, I mean, we got like 95.
Yeah, you're chilling.
Yeah.
I think my worst phase, or like most embarrassing, magic.
I remember you doing that.
Yeah, got big into the magic for like seventh and eighth grade.
Yeah, when I was wearing my bow tie.
Yeah, exactly. Yeah, that phase. Holy.
Yeah.
I still know like a crap ton of magic tricks and like some sleight of hand and everything, and I'm like, nah, nah, don't
Mhm.
do it.
I still
So
have
now
that
it's
bow
just
tie.
like,
I still have it in my closet.
that's
It's
awesome.
with all my other ties.
For me, it's like only whenever we like start playing games and everything does like the magic show through because I'm like shuffling
Mm,
cards and like
right,
just like doing like splitting it and like cutting it and doing stuff that's just like
right,
slightly above average. People are like,
right.
"Why are you so good at that?" And then like anybody that knows me is like, "He does magic."
Like
And I'm like,
magic.
"Is this your card?" And they're like, "It's been 7 years." Yeah, that was me. Good old Braden McCoy got me into that.
Nice.
Yeah, I remember he like when he transferred to whatever school we were in, like Sunrise.
Hmm.
Like my third period teacher right before lunch was like, "Hey, like show Braden around, like help him out, be his friend." I was like, "Okay." So like then
Right.
we go to lunch, and then we get our food, we eat it, and he's like, "Want to see a magic trick?" And he starts like laying out cards, and I was like looking around. I was like, no, no, not here, not down there. And then I like fast forward like 6 months, and I was doing the same thing.
Oh
uh,
man, that school.
yeah, that was an era.
Yeah, it was back during simpler times.
Yeah, the good old days.
Yeah,
Well, speaking about present days, if you were to name this chapter in your life, what would it be called? And then while you're thinking
2023.
about it,
Oh,
what's like the what would you name the whole book about your life?
I don't know, two brain cells
Two brain cells. A little generous.
left, I guess.
All right, all right.
Yeah, that's it.
Yeah, for naming a chapter, I'm like character development,
Yeah,
or like villain backstory, something.
the start of my villain arc.
Yeah.
Yeah, honestly, I got lucky because I was born in 2000. All right, you barely missed the cutoff. Granted, I barely made the cutoff,
Yeah,
but it's like, all right, so this year one because I was one in 2001. So now I'm just 23. At the end of
yeah.
the chapter, it's my birthday.
Keeps
So,
it simple.
mm-hmm.
All right, all right. Let's see. If you could teleport anywhere in the world, and I'd say and spend a week there,
Okay.
where would you go?
Do I instantly get teleported back?
Yes.
Okay.
And you leave in
Um.
20, you're gonna leave in 24 hours. So you can prep and do whatever you need to,
Okay.
and then you teleport for a month or a week.
Hmm. Being a Disney guy, initially my first thought would be Disneyland, but if I don't have a ticket, what's the point? That and that's fairly accessible. It's more realistic without doing that. So I'm gonna say
You could go like Disney World in Florida, or isn't there one in like China or Japan?
there's one in Tokyo, Hong Kong, Shanghai, Florida, Anaheim, and then Paris.
Okay. An
So
international Disney would be cool.
true, true. But I'm gonna have to say probably Lake Como, Italy.
You say Lake Como?
Uh huh.
Okay. I'm
Parts of Star
unfamiliar.
Wars were filmed there, so
Ah, that's why you know about it.
yeah,
All right, checks out.
super pretty, super pretty there.
Yeah, I'm thinking I do either like Iceland, just because that's pretty high up on
Mm.
my list, or China, just because
Okay,
like I don't know, I feel like I'm gonna make it to Iceland before I make it to China. So
right.
yeah, just like with the traveling Karen and I have done, we're like she obviously wants to go back at some point and like visit the homeland, and so I'm like, yeah, absolutely, but that's gonna be an expensive trip.
Like
Because
Russia?
we went to Italy. What was that?
Like Russia?
No, China.
Oh, that's what you meant by homeland. Okay,
Yeah, yeah, yeah. Her
okay,
homeland.
okay.
Yeah,
I was
go
like the
back there.
motherland, the fatherland. Like, what are we talking about here?
Now
Okay,
just go back to her birthplace and everything, see the
gotcha,
Great
gotcha.
Wall, all of that.
Okay.
But we're
Cool.
like we really just like slummed it. I all about traveling on a budget, Some
Mhm.
sketchy places we've stayed, um,
Right.
and we just go to countries where we don't speak the language and we just BS our way through it, like
Mhm.
Greece and Italy.
Right.
We were winging that whole trip, but it worked out.
Right.
It was fun. But like China, she's like, no shot. And I'm like, yeah, we aren't doing it without a tour guide. Like, we're gonna be in
Yeah.
a group doing the tourist stuff because
Mhm. It's where it's safest.
Yeah, and like Italian, it's close enough to Spanish. I could like read stuff, you know.
And chances are, unless you're like deep into countries like that, like if you're in the more touristy areas, chances are someone speaks a little English, even if it's broken,
Uh
enough to
huh.
kind of communicate.
Yeah,
I don't know. I guess you guys went there. Did you guys find a lot of English speakers?
most of Greece speaks English, just because like
Hmm.
Greek is pretty much dead, you know.
Right.
And then in Italy, the farther south you get, the less English there is, even though
Hmm.
there's a lot of touristy areas. So
Right.
like Rome, you can pretty much always find English, but the farther
Hmm.
south you get, the more like culturally Italian it is.
Oh, okay.
The farther north you get, the closer you are to the rest of Europe, and
Right.
like English is the universal language, pretty much.
Hmm.
So yeah, it was cool though.
Cool. Well, I mean, you speak two of the most popular languages in the world, English and Spanish. So
Yeah, and then the
on top of
Latin
that, you
base
need
gets
like
US
you
the
need
rest of it.
Mandarin and French. Then you pretty much
Yeah,
got the top five covered.
I would love to speak Mandarin, and
Hmm.
then like when we go over to China, and then everyone would look at Kara and she's Chinese and try and talk to her, and then I'd be answering for her and I'd be her translator. I'd be like, "Yeah, let's go!"
That'd be funny. That'd be funny.
Yeah, that's like my sole motivation to learn Chinese, but it's too complicated. That's not happening.
That's true. It is.
All right, last one before we finish up. Unless this one tanks, then I've got one other. What is the weirdest thing that you find attractive in a person?
Oh
And I swear, if you say feet, I
no, no.
we're over
Um,
this friendship.
I, I don't understand how people can find feet attractive. I don't like. I'll rub Cam's feet, but nothing more than that. And then she'd be like, "I can rub your." She's like, "Can you rub my feet?" And I'm like, "Yeah, fine, whatever." Like, and it's like a long day. I'm tired or whatever. And she's like, "I'll rub yours." I'm like, no, no one touches my feet. I barely touch my own feet.
Exactly.
Like
I'm like, I got
socks,
hobbit
and
feet.
then like I wash. Like obviously I wash my feet. But it's like
Mhm.
put your socks on. That's it.
Yeah. Even
I'm not
like
sitting
around
here
the
just like
house, you will rarely
rubbing my
see
own
my
feet.
feet out.
Mm-hmm.
Like socks go on immediately unless
Mm-hmm.
I'm going to bed.
Right.
Yeah.
So
So that's
the
not a turn
weirdest
on.
though? No, no, it's a turn off.
Yeah.
Again, the things I'm thinking of, it's like the more I talk to people about things like this,
Uh huh.
the more and more I find that it's not as uncommon as I initially thought. Right? Because there was that set of questions that we used to ask like all the guys, and it was like weirdest turn on, biggest turn on, did it all this other stuff, and mine was always like, oh, my ears.
Uh huh.
It's like, oh, you kissing, kissing, kissing. All of a sudden, they do something to your ear, and it's like, ooh, But I found
Yeah.
that's pretty common amongst at least the people I associate with. I'm like, so maybe
Hmm.
it's not that weird then. So a little nibble on the ear. Ooh,
Yeah.
sorry, mom.
Sorry about that. I feel like I use the nibble on the ear a lot more than it gets used on me.
Mm.
So like, yeah, I don't
But
know
yeah,
why.
stuff like that. It's like I find that I initially thought that was pretty weird, but then talking to more people, it's not that weird. So it's like,
Mhm.
oh, what's something I find attractive and that's weird? I would initially say someone that can like dish out teasing, but also take it.
Yeah.
Because I dated a couple people where they could dish it out, but as soon as it flips, it's
Even
like,
like the smallest amount.
yeah, it's like shut down, stop. I can't handle it.
Hmm.
Like just gets into a bad mood. I'm like, what? Like
That was
whatever.
just a taste of the energy you were giving me. What the?
Seriously.
All
Or
right.
like when I would get teased by like my family, they'd like stand up for me, and I'm like, chill out. Like
Right.
I
Nah,
can take it. I'm fine.
that's what families do.
uh,
All right.
so, but I'm not sure if that's weird because I feel like that's pretty common. It's like if you're gonna dish it, you better be able to take it type of
Yeah.
deal.
I think it's not super weird for me either, but it's just
Mm.
like being down to do weird stuff and not like in the bedroom.
Uh-huh, okay.
Not only in the bedroom. Um,
Yep.
um, but no, like I just like doing new things. And like honestly, if it sounds weird to do it, I'm super
Mm.
down.
Mm.
Like I was just talking the other day. I went on this date with a girl, and I was like, I have no idea what to do, but Harmon's is still open, so we can buy some dry ice, and I know where we can find a pallet to go have a fire in the desert. And you want to just go mess around with dry ice? And she's like, okay. I was like, oh, cool. It's
Yeah.
like that's a weird date.
Yeah. So I feel like a lot of people that are like, curious, like, well,
Mhm.
hold up. Clearly you're that way. I know I'm that way where it's like I don't want to not do something. It's like, oh, I've never done that before. I think it's weird. It's like, but I'm not gonna know if I don't like it unless I try it.
Yeah.
So I'm open to trying whatever it is, wherever it is.
Hmm.
For the most part, if some things I'm like, that's a little past the line, a little too far past the line,
Yeah.
then it's like, yeah, kid, no. But like, hey, you never know unless you try it, right? Same with like
Uh,
foods. I think that's why
yeah.
I'm so open to eating weird things. 'Cause it's like, well, maybe I'll like it.
Yeah. That's fair.
So,
Yeah. Like I was chatting with a buddy. He's telling me about he and his friends in high school used to go and get like traffic cones, and
mhm.
then you could like dump just like a little bit of like gas inside of them, and like you swirl it around, and then you can light it on fire, and I guess it makes like a
Oh
super
yeah.
cool explosion.
Mhm.
Yeah, and I was like, all right, I'm down. When are we doing it? He's like, yeah, hit me up sometime. I was like, okay, I will.
You can do it. You can do it with those big, like 5 gallon water jugs
Oh
that
yeah.
you flip over into the machines or whatever.
Uh huh.
Is that that's empty and you got the top off and you put a little bit of like rubbing alcohol in it
Yeah.
or what have you, and you like swirl it around so like the whole thing gets coated. You can
Yeah.
light the top because the fumes are coming out. So you light the top and it goes like down the sides and then gets to the bottom. It's like out the top because like the fumes are escaping and all this stuff. That's pretty
Oh,
cool.
that's cool.
I've done that with a glass before. Probably not the smartest with a glass because if it does explode, you're done. But I did it with a glass
Yeah.
before.
All right.
So,
He's like a glass
yep.
bottle.
Mm-hmm. Took a
Okay.
glass bottle and tried it and lit the top, and it would
Hmm.
sit there and like look like like a candle. The top was lit, and then it would go down and go just like a little tiny one because I didn't use a lot, and it wasn't that big of a glass.
Uh
So
huh.
that's why the big ones make such like a like a big noise because there's
Yeah.
so much volume. Whereas if you use something small, it's not going to give you as big of a boom.
Yeah. And you can use more liquid because there's more surface area to spread it out.
Mm-hmm.
Makes sense.
So
Cool. Cool. Yeah, I think we'll stop there for today. But yeah, thanks for listening, y'all. If you like any of these conversation starters, feel free to use them on your next first date, next road trip, whatever it is. Give us a follow, a like, share it with any buddies, and we'll catch you next time.
bye.
Deuces.